B Small's got to be liking the Rangers as a huge favorite.
Huge
now
favorite
to
now.
go to the World Series.
They've got to be a huge.
They haven't
favorite,
lost
right?
a playoff game. They're clearly a Bruce Bochy driven team of destiny. No way the lowly Astros could beat them in a series of 7.
Be small though. I do want your opinion on something last night because I mean, the Rangers rolled. This game wasn't close from the get-go. The series wasn't close from the get-go. Really, I mean, they really destroyed Baltimore. But as a Rangers fan, were you concerned about the huge celebration for winning the AL, their American League Division Series? They haven't, I mean, in my mind, they won a series. They haven't won anything else.
It's like in Remember the Titans. We ain't won nothing, y'all. Yeah, the Astros don't celebrate until they get to the World Series. The Longhorns don't storm the field until it's the national championship. You know, there's just things that aren't done.
Speaking of which, that's becoming way too common in college football
Stay off
these
my
days.
football field.
You know, I mean, huge
I've
celebration,
seen
negative.
Yeah, you should. He's saying negative. There wasn't a huge celebration.
Bull crap. They had they were popping champagne.
You don't need champagne over
they had the
winning a
ski
wild card
goggles
series.
on.
Yeah,
they taped up all the lockers.
You don't need that for winning a wild card series that you shouldn't have been in.
And the only reason I think they do it is for TV.
Absolutely.
There were some players that didn't take part, but too many of them I think did. And that, as a sports fan, that always worries me when you celebrate too hard too early.
Now, I believe if the Astros make it to this ALCS and if the Astros were to win it, I would be okay with them having a celebration for winning the American League. But, I mean, it's if you're not careful, you just create a huge mess.
Equipment guy hates you.
Yeah.
Hard to get champagne out of uniforms.
Well, I agree. I'm not counting any chickens before they hatch. It's very possible that the Twins could come back, although I don't see it because, so tonight you've got who's pitching, Urquidy?
Urquidy against Joe Ryan.
Yeah, so Urquidy will get the start and know that he'll be on a short leash. In no time at all, you could see Justin Verlander in that game. You could see Hunter Brown in that game.
Hunter
Hector
pitched
Neris,
yesterday, but Hunter could probably go again. Neris he's been nails.
Yeah, they're going to do just fine.
Joe Ryan, 11-10 on the season, 4.51 ERA.
If he's got a 4.5 and he's playing the Astros, he may have a 9.0.
He may.
So,
or he may look like a world beater. I mean, he's given up some runs his last 3 starts. So, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, he gave up 6 in his last regular season start. That is.
We got a barn burner in Minnesota.
Minnesota, eh?
Eh.
So we'll see tonight.
That's close to the UP.
Right next to it, right?
Why didn't Canada just take over the UP?
There's a lot of questions as to why Canada didn't do a lot of things, and how that border ended up where it did. I'm surprised the folks mapping the border back in the day didn't just say, you know what, screw this, we're going to move it south.
Right. Because what is that?
It went through some nasty, nasty land.
Crazy.
Semi-frozen tundra, thawed-out marshy bogs, mosquitoes the size of small children.
Aircraft.
Horseflies.
Jonathan Williams says Astros will save Justin Verlander for Game 5.
No, he's not going to come out of the bullpen. He won't.
It's not a do-or-die game.
No, he might be the only one.
So that elongated Astros update brought to you by the great folks at First State Bank of Louise. Fantastic bank, fantastic, friendly folks. Go by and see Lolly Hamilton. And get what your Mark Kirk says, 2 playoff sweeps never before done, right? I don't know. I think the Astros may have swept a couple on the way to the World Series.
I don't know.
But the Astros don't typically come at it from the wild card position.
First year they did, right?
I think so.
I'm not sure.
They're cheating, man. Cheating.
You know what? And let's talk about this. This isn't the Astros Minute, but now there's calls from folks that think that 5-day layoff for winning the higher seed is problematic.
Hurts the team.
And
well, your own Terry Poole says baseball's a game that's made to be played every day. Yeah. Play it every day.
So you get the you get the higher seed and you get the days off. People were arguing online. I don't honestly. I know like football teams, hockey teams.
They need the contact.
They want the rest because it heals their bodies.
Well, yeah. Baseball too.
I don't know, but I don't know of a baseball. I don't recall. Maybe there are some players. Oh yeah, we look forward to the rest, and that's because that's what they're told to say because they can't speak against Major League Baseball's playoff decisions. But honestly, I don't know teams that come out and go, yeah, we want that 1 seed so we can have a 5-day break in baseball. I just don't think it happens.
B. Small says, I hope that sarcasm comes back to bite you. I'm sincere. Ash and I called the Rangers winning this series.
Yeah, we did. All we got was hatred.
That's all
Rangers fans.
Yeah, Rangers fans said, oh, you're cursing the Rangers.
Yeah, and there was no hatred, animosity. We weren't coming from a bad place. We want to see a Rangers, Astros, ALCS.
Because we know that's the easiest path for the Astros to the World Series.
Absolutely.
The Orioles are way too good and unpredictable. We want to play the semi-okay Rangers and squash their hopes and dreams again.
And if only
I got that series going 6.
We could have gone through Minnesota.
I got that game going 6 tops. No more than 7. No way it goes 7.
I don't think it goes 7.
I think it goes 5.
I think it could go. Well, we got to get there first. Then we'll talk predictions.
Yeah. Well, now Minnesota's at the place where they have to win 2 games. One at home, one on the road. I think they're just going to – they know their place.
Fold it up. Yep. Hockey half minute. Yep. NHL regular season got underway last night. Tampa Bay beat Nashville 5-3.
That's my team, the Lightning.
Chicago beat Pittsburgh 4-2.
I'm a big Blackhawks fan. Blackhawks win.
Vegas Golden Knights beat the Seattle Kraken 4-1.
I'm a Vegas guy. I'm like a Canadian. See, Ash has 2 teams. I want 3. I got the Golden Knights, the Blackhawks, and the Lightning. Is that the Tampa Bay Lightning?
That's Tampa Bay Lightning. Yep. I'm looking to see Connor Bedard, who is the next one, the heir apparent to Connor McDavid. This is a kid that everybody, I mean, when he was playing junior hockey last year, they were getting, small towns that have 5,000-seat arenas. They were selling out. Tickets were going on secondary markets like it was Taylor Swift coming to play a concert.
Nice.
They play in Calgary at the Olympic Saddle Dome or the Scotiabank Saddle Dome.
Nobody shows up.
18,000 people to watch a junior hockey game. I mean, it's almost unheard of. But he had an assist in his debut last night. 18-year-old kid. I hope.
Is it like the second coming of Gretzky? Does he wear 99?
98. Nobody wears 99.
There you go. So they're saying it's kind of like the homage to Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant wore 24 instead of 23.
Yeah, they're trying to find numbers because Connor McDavid wears 97. Eric Lindros wore 88. So
one of the great Irish players in the hockey world, Connor McDavid. Hey,
a lot of great Irish Canadians that have played the game. But tonight, I think my Flames are in action tonight. They host the Winnipeg Jets.
Jets, Jets. They can't play with Calgary. Calgary's better.
About to find out.
When do your Rangers play?
Thursday night at Buffalo.
And do you still have Hockey Night in America? Do you still have it on your TV?
No, I got rid of my DirecTV. So I'll have to find it.
You can come to my house anytime.
Somewhere.
When I'm scanning and there's nothing to watch on TV, there always seems to be a hockey game on. Feel free to come over.
This time of year there is. Let's take our next break.
And then we can get into our
our guest because he's walked into the studio and in the green room, and I think he's grabbing a cup of nothing because we have nothing in the green room.
The bartender said they were cutting him off. It was too early. Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends.
We'll meet our friends there next Tuesday night.
The 17th. Be there. It'll be fun. Last time we won. I mean, I won. We won.
You won. I think of the 10 games played, 4 were winners. 4 Wade and Carter winners. 1 games. We had a couple splits.
There you go. Be sure and be there. Gray Barn Mercantile.
I think one of our winners split with themselves, so they won the full pot. They just had to split it twice.
And they got the double taxation. Gray Barn Design, Gray Barn Mercantile. Don't forget Kathleen Leininger. You have a $20 gift certificate at Gray Barn. Just tell Cheryl that Brent's going to cover it. And Get in there for all the really cool accoutrement for your home. You'll be pleased with all the wonderful things that she has to offer. You took away my sheet. Add an offer.
South Texas tradition since 1926.
Yeah, very nice. This is a different sheet.
Yeah, something happened.
You did something. AJ's
I didn't
detailing.
do anything. The computer crashed last night.
AJ will wash your car on a rainy day. The key is if you've got like Ash does, where you need to have the interior done, today's a great day for AJ to do that. Rain or not, we can wash it anytime. The detail is the tough part. Get by AJ's Detailing. Check him out on Facebook. And then Armor Air. Ryan and his team, 579-0966. Let Armor Air come out, check your AC unit. You think you're out of the woods. You're not. No. You're going to turn on that heater, and it's going to go, brrr, and you're going to be like, oh, man. Let Armor Air come out.
And if you've not been running your AC the last couple of days because you probably haven't needed it, 93 of the expected high on Friday, so we'll be back up there.
Yep.
But let Armor Air. And let's quickly talk to Chop and Block because they've got a great sale on New York strips, $10 a pound right now.
Yeah, great steaks, too. The New York strip is good. You just want to cook it quick, right? I still like it medium rare.
Yeah, medium rare.
But it's leaner than a ribeye, so you have to cook it kind of quick.
Yeah, about 2.5 to 3 minutes per side.
There you go.
That's all. That's my cooking tip.
Start it at room temperature and just let it get good and warm and eat it.
Yeah. Don't blame me for any issues.
Salmonella is not our problem.
No, not our problem. It won't happen. Not from the Chop and Block.
Yep.
Let's get Dr. Gary Branfman right over here on this microphone,
and
we've got the camera ready for you.
And we're ready.
We're glad you joined us.
Yes, sir. Very
this morning.
Proud to have you.
You can move that microphone down if you have to a little bit. We should be good wherever you want it.
And then get right on it.
Down. You're making fun of my height again.
No.
Not again. That's the first time. The next time will be again.
By you.
But we need you to get right on it, and then you can share anything you want with us. We're very honored to have you here. We know these are trying times for you and your faith, and
my people and my family in Israel.
Please come a little closer for us.
So let me know, getting started. How long do we have? And
we've got up to I would say we've got a half hour.
A half an hour. Oh my gosh.
Sure.
Well, in that case,
we don't have to take it all if you don't want, but we can. We'll take a break in the middle. So we've got one more break.
So we have a very diverse audience. We have a very smart audience. We have a very pro-Israel audience. And I would share with you that I also promised folks we could talk about boobies at some point.
Oh, good, for sure. I mean, that's, how could we not?
Right.
So Saturday morning, let's just kind of go back to the weekend. You wake up to some terrible news. And the world woke up to some terrible news in Israel with Hamas launching thousands of missiles, drones, rockets, what have you, almost everything that they had,
rockets,
right? Pardon me?
That's war. Missile drones, rockets, that's war. This is different. There's no moral equivalency in this and or. This is ISIS. This is Islamic Jihad. This is uneducated teenagers crashing through a wall with pickup trucks and axes and shovels, right? And binding, burning, and beheading babies. I mean, we haven't seen these atrocities since the Holocaust. And and by the way, I have some notes here just so I don't forget the important things I want to put in.
Please,
so
we'll let you direct
what I do
want
to say is that my comments, way before y'all heard anything, my comments are not from the news, not from any sources of cyberspace. They're from these are not third person. These are from direct correspondence with my cousin who lives in Israel, with Brigadier General Avivi, who lives in Israel, and I also spoke personally with members of the Israeli military as well as members of security. So remember, it's 8 hours later in Israel.
Yeah.
So when it's morning here, it's nighttime there. And again, these people, people oftentimes forget this is certainly an Islamic jihad against the Jews, but they forget that only 73% of Israel is Jewish. We've got Christians, Muslims, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, Baha'i of faith. So when they indiscriminately toss, atheists, straights, gays, blacks, whites, young and old. So when we hear that a missile, a rocket, went into Israel, it doesn't have a heat-seeking ability to hit Jews. So the Islamic jihadists, the Islamofascist terrorists, they think, well, if it kills a Jew, good. If it kills someone else, it's just, collateral damage. It's just they're martyrs. I don't think the mothers of the Muslim children or of the Christian children, anybody else, feel that they want to be martyrs when they're trying to get up and they want to take their kids to school. So the whole, narrative, there's no moral equivalency. This isn't war. Putin is a demonic creature. However, he had an army attack an army. These are uneducated children who were paid for armed and given orders by Iran. And this isn't a theory. We know this. This is a fact.
Absolutely.
Right. So
and,
what
and
else?
this and I hate, in my opinion, this administration has some culpability. They have freed up money to Iran that they have used, and I'm not talking the $6 billion, because there's tens of billions that have been going to Iran since the Obama administration and since the Biden administration took over, that have allowed Iran to do what they're doing, and that's funding terrorism
Right.
throughout the Middle East again
Of course,
and around the world.
and how are major Western democracies being fooled by Iran saying that we just want to use nuclear for energy? When Hitler said he was going to kill all the Jews, nobody believed him. Okay, well,
Right.
we did, but the whole world turned a blind eye. This happens over and over again. The world has amnesia. They don't realize that this isn't the first time in history that there's been an attempt to basically make the Jewish faith and people and religion and culture and race extinct. I mean,
Well, and that's the goal.
That's their goal.
Hamas has said that we hate the Jews. We're going to kill them all. That's the only way. So, and that I don't know that people here can understand that. The Jewish people obviously can, because they've lived through it once in Nazi Germany. The memory,
before once in Nazi Germany.
but more recently, right? But how do you? What is the end game here? Because the end game for one side is to completely eradicate the other.
right.
So is that the only way to go forward from the other side? Is that the only way that the Jews can go forward, is to try to eliminate Hamas and those that are
Definitely.
that hit
No
them?
question about it. Yeah, the end game, well, you can really simplify the whole Arab-Israeli conflict. Everybody wants to think it's this great geopolitical, philosophical narrative. On one side of the equation, there are a group of people who want to kill and murder Jews. On the other side of the equation, there are Jews who don't want to be killed and murdered. That's it. That is the Arab-Israeli conflict. It's been going on for
Centuries.
forever.
Yeah.
Right.
It is interesting to me, though, that we talk here often about the irony of situations and how that one group is doing what the other group says that they're doing, and when you look at Hamas, the elected leaders of the feral Palestinians, they have no country, they have no government, they have no military,
They have no history.
they have nothing. They're nothing. They didn't even exist till like what? Honestly,
1965.
Oh, there you go. So you look at it, and they say, well, the Israelis they're occupying land that isn't theirs, and yet we have a charter from the UN in 47 that says, hey, this is their land.
Well, way before that, this was the land of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca.
I think they were Jewish.
What they call the occupied territory has been ours since the time of the Torah. People forget history. Muhammad was born 600 years after Jesus died. So how could it be an ancient religion? 2,500 years after Abraham. So in the 1960s, Arafat, who, by the way, Palestinian, Arafat was an Arab nationalist born in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
he put together a little group of people, and he called them Palestinians. Before that, the Arabs who occupied the landmass did not want to be called Palestinians. They were offended. It was the British mandated Palestine. Europeans would tell the Jews, go back to Palestine. The Palestinian Football League of 1939 had Stars of David. They were Jews. These weren't Arabs. And again, Arafat formed this group. And then what did the early Palestinians do? Well, they assassinated Robert Kennedy.
Sirhan.
They blew up 5 restaurants crowded with people.
Olympics.
They killed 11 Jews in the Olympics. And America's only concern was get Mark Spitz out of there. And then the Olympics didn't even take a pause.
But he was Jewish.
Right, of course.
We got our Jewish
That's my
guy
point.
out of there.
Well, that's my point. Yeah, we got our Jewish. But that's the point. This isn't an Israeli problem. This is a humanity problem, a global problem. And, in a few months, when you start seeing pictures on CNN of Gaza being destroyed and talking about the Jewish, rage against the Palestinians, don't forget the pictures now of babies burned in front of their parents, beheaded, dismembered,
Pulled
teenage
from the
girls
arms
being
of
raped.
mothers?
Right, exactly. Pulled from the arms of mothers. And this makes
A grandmother
a 95-year-old
survived
Holocaust
the
survivor.
Holocaust.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk about the Hamas area, the Gaza Strip, roughly twice the size.
and let's not
of-
forget the Gaza Strip at one point, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they offer that
Yeah.
as a peace offering with
Yeah, we had the
Yasser
Gaza Strip.
Arafat?
Yeah, we had the Sinai Peninsula. We gave it back to Egypt. That was stupid. We had the Gaza Strip, and we pulled all the Jews out of there. And so how much did they prove to us that they want a country? They don't want a country. They want to kill the
eliminate you.
Jews and make our country. I mean, in 1948, with the partition plan, when the decision was divide the landmass among the Arabs and the Jews said, yay, let's do it. The Arabs attacked us. 7 armies attacked the Jews.
The day after.
The day after, right?
But
when
when
the
you-
Jews were praying, they were in synagogue.
When you take the Gaza Strip area, and it's roughly twice the size of Washington, D.C.,
It's the size of Corpus Christi and 8 times the population.
there you go. You put 2 million people in there, and I'm just convinced that if the United States will support, literally support, like we have conflicting things. I like what Joe Biden said, but I don't think
I like what Joe
Biden's
Biden read.
actions-
Remember, that's
right,
what Joe Biden read.
Right. It's a true story. But he doesn't typically back it up with his actions because he also supports Israel's enemies.
Of course.
I look at it and say that if we would just turn the Jews loose, they would solve this problem in no time at all.
Well, right now the Jews are loose, and that we don't care who says anything about them.
Amen.
There's no moral equivalency. I mean, what does the world think? Does the world want Iran to get a bomb? Israel's the only group of people, military and others, who are going to prevent them from getting a bomb.
Well, and they're the only democracy in the region. Which,
That's for sure.
Which scares. I mean, that's, and yet, I mean, there's so many ways that you can go with this, but I think the most appalling thing that I probably heard in the wake of this was the leaders of countries telling Israel that the response must be proportionate. What the hell does that even
right.
mean?
That does, I mean, again, you can't be proportionate against uneducated teenagers in pickup trucks with machetes and shovels butchering. And again, remember,
Is
this is
that
not just the Jews. They have killed Argentinians, Germans, British, Canadians, Chinese, and Thailand people. That's who's been killed in the past few days.
No, they
Over
didn't kill
2,000 people.
Yeah, they didn't care.
No, right. There was a
weren't-
74-year-old woman who, what she did for her life was she would try to make peace with the Palestinians and with the Jews. She would go to Gaza. She'd pick up Gazans stricken with cancer, drive them to Israeli hospitals. She hasn't been heard from since her last text, which said there's bombing, there's screaming. That's it. No one's heard for her in 5 days. And her life and awards she won were dedicated to trying to make peace between the Palestinians. Golda Meir said, I mean, they've already criticized her then, they criticize her now, that there will be peace when the Arabs love their children more than they hate ours. And we don't foresee that happening. There's people in our community who are cheering the devastation, the demonic melee which went on in our very community in social media.
Yeah.
There are people all over the world. There are celebrations cheering on Hamas.
Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, these folks that are flying flags for Hamas.
Right.
I don't understand how you can serve in our nation's government and be pro-Hamas. I don't understand why New York even allowed. I mean, I get freedom of speech, but a pro-Hamas parade, if you will, through the streets of New York.
And on some of our campuses,
We're
Harvard had a
celebrating
huge,
most of our campuses.
Harvard had a big
31
pro-Hamas
groups.
rally, and the student group that led it has direct ties back to Hamas.
Correct.
They are student terrorists or funded. They're students funded by terrorists. There's no denying that. I mean, you can draw the line.
connection is
Yeah, they
there.
call it Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP. This past year at the City University of New York law school graduation, the valedictorian was a Muslim woman known to be an anti-Semite, anti-Jew. And in her speech, she talked about the Israeli murderous apartheid government that's killing children, that's all this sort of stuff. She got standing ovation and applause from the administration. Yeah. Right? And CUNY, C-U-N-Y, City University of New York, it's the largest public university in America. Okay, I attended there in the 1970s. Okay, when I attended there, we had a mitzvah mobile. If we wanted to say a little prayer before a test or, look at a Torah, there was a bus parked outside. Now it wouldn't be a happy place, a safe place. It's a target.
It's crazy. Yeah. So what do you think the outcome's going to be now? I mean, so, as a Christian, I feel like I know how the story ends. I feel like I know about the 144,000. I know what's coming down the pipe. Right. Where are we at right now? Are the Jews just going to go wholesale? and just
Yes.
solve this problem.
Yes. If
I respect
anything,
that.
sadly, can merge a country that's politically divided, it's war. The same thing in America.
story.
After 9/11, all of a sudden, there were no right-wing and left-wing. There were no conservatives and liberals. There were just people. Okay, and these people, that's what's happening in Israel right now. They're forming a coalition temporary government with the right and the left getting together to decide how to end this thing once and for all. We forget that this is the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, okay?
Yeah.
On the holiest day of the year, Syria and Egypt mounted a surprise attack. 22,000 Jews died. I mean, we're not talking about 2,200 like we're looking at in this conflict. And the world basically, said that, well, Israel needs to make peace. Well, the only reason that Egypt made peace then is because Golda Meir had the army surround 30,000 Egyptians one night and told Henry Kissinger to tell President Nixon that if they don't withdraw now, we're going to make 30,000 Egyptian women widows in the morning. So to think that there was a peace treaty made, that's not true.
And
That's a lie.
Well, and what we're finding out now is that was probably as close to the brink of nuclear war as we'd ever been, because the Russians were back in Egypt and
well,
threatened to
back
come
up.
in.
We had a nuclear war. Don't forget that the Manhattan Project, we have nuclear weapons.
Well,
and
but
people
since
who
World
criticize
War II.
right, people who criticize that don't realize that the Nazis and the Russians were also trying to get nukes back then. The only advantage is that we got them first. Okay, so the people who criticize that action.
No, but we were very close. I don't think people
I think they were
realize
close
that,
to really
and we're learning
Russia
that
and
now.
the U.S. fighting in your backyard over there is what I
Right.
think they were close to having happen.
Well, that's one of the reasons that the Israeli defensive mount is different, because they're not fighting in some jungle across an ocean. They're fighting in their homes. These jihadists went into homes and murdered people. I mean, Holocaust survivors raping teenage women. I couldn't even say exactly what they're doing to young teenage boys. They have around 50 infants and toddlers in cages as human shields.
Yeah, they were throwing them in like chicken cages,
Exactly.
bird cages.
Exactly.
What are some of the things that you're hearing from some of the folks that you're in communication with over there?
This is not, people are thinking, oh, this is the end of Israel. No, it's not. Israel will make it so that Hamas can never do this again. And Hamas is eventually going to realize that they're pawns for Iran. Iran is saying, well, we're going to let a bunch of them die because it's in our cause, right? And why does Iran hate Israel? We don't share a border. It's not a border dispute. They don't want natural resources. We don't have any. The end point for Iran, who, by the way, Iran runs Hamas and Hezbollah is sending over missiles
from Lebanon
as well. So we've got the northern front, the southern front, and then along the eastern side we have Syria, right? Now, the world's been telling us to give back the Golan Heights, which we captured from Syria, and we won't give it back, and now you can see why. The Golan Heights is heights. People who are up on the heights, you can see what's going on in Israel, and I've been there. I mean, this is not a fiction story. This is reality.
Brian Small has a question. So as Americans, what should we expect? What should we do?
We should, number one, allow Israel to do what they need to do.
Amen.
Not start circulating these photographs and these pictures that are from Gaza. That's what they love to do. They love to make a moral equivalency, an Israeli army against another army. This is not that.
Right.
This is a ISIS-type maneuver, a Nazi Germany-type maneuver to not just murder and kill, but this is to torture, to dismember, to burn, to behead. I mean, so what the U.S. can do, number one, the U.S. could do, which is gladly and proudly what they are doing, let Israel do what they need to do, number one. Number two, let Iran know. Now, this is Iran. Iran is Hezbollah and Hamas. Hamas was started in 1987, where Yasser Arafat got together with 6 Palestinians and formed this group of terrorists. Okay, that's where it was.
Well, because the PLO had become too political.
Well, the PLO basically was Yasser Arafat's thing. But so who was the first king of the Palestinians? Yasser Arafat, right? I mean, that was it. There's no one before him. He died with an estate of $20 billion. None of it went to Palestinian people.
None.
It's in the pocketbooks of his wife and daughter who are waltzing in front of the Eiffel Tower and the Champs-Elysees. So they say that he was a leader. There's no ancient Palestinian artifacts, art, sculptures. It's nothing. It's a new people.
Hospitals.
Right, nothing.
There's
Scholarship.
nothing from
There's
those people.
nothing, right. And if you look at Gaza, it looks like the most poverty-stricken area, but their leadership has Learjets and mansions. If you don't believe it, go to Google Earth.
Wasn't Arafat worth something like $20 billion?
Right, $20 billion.
I think his widow still lives in New York City.
In Paris. Well, she can live anywhere she wants to. Yeah, but his widow and his daughter are multi-billionaires who are doing nothing for the Palestinian people.
Callie Fromme asked a good question. She says, because we don't know what terrorists are currently living in the U.S., do not so much you personally, but do you feel like Jewish Americans in this country are on high alert?
Oh,
personally?
no, questionably, unquestionably, the amount of Jewish Americans who have license to carry permits is better than it's ever been in history. The Torah, the Talmud says, okay, the Talmud says that if someone plans to murder you, get up early and kill him first. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's our scripture. I mean, King David was a poet, a leader, and an army. I mean,
Philanderer.
basically, we have to have both sides of the equation.
Just don't miss Philanderer.
Yeah, well, right, of course.
We gotta give him full
like every
credit.
good leader, right? Exactly,
crazy
exactly.
Bathsheba.
Yeah, right. But he didn't sit around and and the Israeli army loves to say that we believe in miracles, but we don't wait for them to happen. We have won wars in modern days in 1948, in 1956, in 1967, in 1973. I was a senior in high school. I remember this. Okay, my grandparents escaped Russian aggression and Nazi suppression to come to this land of America and get here, and they're met by the Ku Klux Klan. I mean,
Right.
this is nothing new to us. So, and this we will prevail. There's going to be a lot of Jewish lives lost. However, America and all Western civilizations and all humanity needs to realize that this is going to happen again. We know it. You can prepare for invasion from an army. You can't prepare for a bunch of psychotic Islamo-fascist teenagers who get in pickup trucks with machetes and rifles given to them by their government, who crash through a border fence.
Tell them what to do or they're going to die.
Right, exactly. Well, they want to die. They figure that they're going to get the 72 Virgin deal, right?
I have heard
you know.
that the one of the contradictions, is that the Israelis love life and that the Islamics love death.
Yeah, that's
It's a very
for sure.
interesting, contrast. I believe that if we leave Israel alone as a country and don't judge, oh well, they're killing babies too.
Yeah.
You know what? If you look at everybody over there, since these fights have been going on since the beginning of time, I've got no problem with the Jews going over there and eradicating everybody in the Gaza Strip. No
Right.
problem with it at all. They elected those leaders. That's who they stand by, and if they want to die in their arms, then they can go die in their arms.
Exactly. And, Israel is the most moral army on the planet. They announced to Gaza, please evacuate these areas where there are Hamas strongholds, right? I mean, when they go into Jenin, and, this West Bank BS, it's not the West Bank, it's Judea and Samaria. That's where our patriarchs are buried. I mean, it's been ours way before Islam was invented. I'm not criticizing Arabs or Islam. I'm criticizing the false narrative that these college kids are taught that there's this ancient Palestinian culture.
Yeah,
There's not.
and
The Palestinians, the Palestinians, with the name given by the Romans and Greeks to be anti-Semitic based on the Philistines. That's where, and they're not even Arabian. They're from the Aegean coast off Greece, right? So who are the most famous Philistines? Well, there's Delilah, who seduced Samson, led to his death. And, of course, we can't forget the Philistine Goliath, who David kicked his ass and bashed him in the head.
Samson, who was, it was Solomon who was Bathsheba's kid.
Right, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Samson, there's always a woman involved, Doc.
There is, that's for sure.
Let's talk about that for a second, because whether it's Bathsheba or Delilah, there's always a woman in there causing trouble.
Or seven.
Taylor Swift, somebody causing problems.
Well, then I need to share with you that I have a wife, 3 daughters, okay? I have all my employees are women. Most of my patients are women. My mother was a college professor. So I know that when God created man, she was only kidding.
Right. There you have it.
Brian Small asks, what does success look like?
What is success
For the
like?
Jews.
Well, success is the survival of the Jewish people.
Amen.
That's it. We are 15 million Jews on the planet. People don't realize that. But President Musharraf of Pakistan was asked after 9/11, there were so many terrorists. How many terrorists? Well, he said, well, it's probably 2%. Well, 2% of 2 billion is 40 million. That's how many terrorists Musharraf, the president of Pakistan, said there. That's a lot of Jew haters.
That's a lot of haters.
Yeah.
Keith Williams says, great show and information. We will be praying for Israel today at our noontime prayer, 1402 Santa Rosa at the American Legion Hall. It's from 12 to 1. Everyone is welcome.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Victoria Islamic Society to come out with an official statement of condemnation.
Yeah,
It's been
sure.
5 days now. I know their Facebook page. I know them. I work with them. I operate with them. They're doctors and anesthesiologists and educated. I have not yet heard a declaration of condemnation, and not the center itself, but there are 2 members who are on social media praising Hamas. Live in Victoria, Texas.
Yeah, they're among us.
Well,
there's no doubt.
Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar It wasn't until they started getting pressure from other members of Congress
Right.
for them to finally
Oh, yeah.
reverse course a little bit.
You know, when the concentration camps were liberated and the American soldiers went in, they said, we need to take photographs because no one could ever believe what we're seeing. Well, fortunately now we have cell phones to take photographs. There are pictures that aren't even being shown. They're too gruesome.
Yeah, no, they won't show them.
And I'm seeing them. I was involved in the security briefing on Sunday morning with Brigadier General Avivi out of Israel. I mean, he said they can't, when the soldiers are going in, and remember, there's a lot of these are reservists. They've already served their time. Remember, women in Israel serve from 18 to 25. And there's a 95-year-old Israeli Defense Force reservist who volunteered for duty. I have pictures of him in full uniform. He said he's not really there to fight. He's there to give morale to the younger ones. And he was there when Israel was formed. He fought in that war.
You know, I was privileged 20 years ago now to be in Germany and went to Dachau on a drizzly, foggy, low 50-degree day. And I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in ghosts. But I'm telling you that there was a feeling of evil and death in that spot.
Oh, yeah.
Walking through that property as somebody who had nothing to fear in a modern time, who would not have been a target at that time, it still just made me apprehensive just being on the property.
My grandfather was a child in what was the Russian Empire, is now Ukraine. He, as a child, watched Cossacks on horseback parade through his village with machetes and with sabers, chopping off heads of Jewish children. We've seen this before. This happened in the Middle Ages. Spain decided it's illegal to be Jewish, right? In Portugal, right? This happened. They blamed us for the Black Plague. Why? Because we weren't dying as frequently. Because we washed our hands. And that's all it took. We didn't cause the plague. We just weren't dying. I mean, and then, of course, the Holocaust. But also, historically, I mean, you know, we've been attacked by the Greeks, the Romans, the Inquisition. This is the story of the survival of the Jewish people. And somehow, despite the fact that we're 15 million, 0.2% of the population, and I hate to boast my people's small numbers, we've won 26% of Nobel Prizes, right? Now, that's not for the Jews. That's not for the Jews. And it would be if it wasn't being held in a country that's as historically anti-Semitic, right?
Right, absolutely.
And those Nobel Prizes aren't to help the Jewish people. This is to help humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they don't get it. Rabbi Kahane, who was assassinated, said years ago that we prefer a Israel that is hated by the entire world than an Auschwitz that is loved by the entire world. I mean,
well, you know,
we're visiting with Dr. Gary Branfman, Victoria plastic surgeon. Appreciate your time this morning. We can continue this conversation a little longer. They might get rid of us on the radio, but
if it gives you any comfort, we know that the Jewish people will triumph in this. It's just a matter of time.
Oh, we know it too.
I mean, it's a done deal.
Yeah, done deal. Can I take about 30 seconds to read you something?
Yeah, please do.
I'm going to read you something that
so
was
you
written.
You have glasses on your shirt.
And I'm not sure. So what do you think look better? My daughter's kind of like these.
I like those.
But then there are these. These are kind of more sophisticated.
Those
these
are
a
like,
little more cool.
Those look a little more
Those are when the boob job comes out perfect.
Right,
those are the ones you wear.
Okay. Then I'm going to wear these. You know, it's hard. It's hard to.
You should be wearing them. He wears them all the time. Then.
You know, usually at this time of day, I'm wearing green pajamas. Looks like I've got a mask, a hat on, so you can't see. So it's not easy to look good this
Hang
early
on, guys.
morning.
We'll talk about boobs in a minute.
Okay, so let me just read this for you. This is 1899, written by Mark Twain, and it's his essay on the Jews. He has made a marvelous fight in the world in all ages, and has done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it, for the Egyptian, the Babylonian, the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and Roman followed. They made a vast noise and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out, and they sit together now in twilight, or they have vanished completely. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always has been, showing no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alertness. And no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. Mark Twain said this, 1899. This is before the Holocaust. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces past, but he remains. What's the secrets of his immortality? We live in the same land. We speak the same language. We worship the same God as we did 2,500 years ago.
Right. And all they've ever asked is just leave us alone.
Right, exactly.
Just leave us alone. We'll keep giving things to the world if you'll leave us alone.
I worry there's and there's a bigger play here, and Iran's involved, Russia's involved, China's involved. America's giving a lot of resources to Ukraine. We've pledged a lot of resources to this.
Right.
There's a systemic effort to weaken the military response of the United States by getting us involved in all these conflicts, and not us involved, but having to support these conflicts that are starting to pop up.
Right.
And our resources are being drained. Our president has dilapidated our strategic petroleum reserve. We're pledging resources and future generations with money and munitions to Ukraine. Now we've pledged to do the same for Israel, which absolutely is, in my mind, the right thing to do. But
Israel before Ukraine. The only thing
Iran
I
is
think
laughing at us, and China's pulling the strings because they fund Iran, and Russia does the same.
Yeah.
I think
No,
all,
I think
all Israel wants is for us to just stay out of the way.
Right, exactly. And of course, the difference with our assistance to Ukraine, our assistance to third world nations, is we do it for humanity. The difference is with Israel, we do it for the symbiotic relationship. We get from Israel security, technology. Although America makes the weapons, we help them design them. You know, people talk about, well, we give Israel money. We gave Israel a lot of money, right? Then Israel turns around and buys American F-35 fighter planes. So the money goes back into the pockets of the American people. A F-35, the most highly technological fighter plane
And I'd
ever
have no problem.
invented. Finish this. They cost $100 million a piece. Israel ordered 50 of them. So where's the money going to give to America? It's going back to the people who work in Lockheed Martin, to work at factories. And that's not just the engineers. It's going to the secretaries, the janitors, the people who clean the place, the people who run the electricity. So America doesn't realize that everything we do to America is a fair trade-off for our only ally in the Middle East, the only country who will not let Iran get a nuclear weapon. So
the only
this stuff
democracy in the Middle East for the most part.
That's
I mean,
for sure.
but here's the thing. I wouldn't have a problem if that money went to Israel and Israel didn't spend it back here.
Right.
I don't. I have more issues with some of the strings attached to some of these things that tells you, well, we're going to give you this money, but you got to spend it back here.
Right.
I mean, I'd be, but
Right.
I'd have no problem if Israel was spending this money
Right.
in Israel because they've developed better weapons or planes than what they can get from us.
When you see people abducting women and children and killing babies and all that, don't ever doubt for a moment that Iran would drop a nuclear weapon on Israel in a
It says they
heartbeat.
will. The
In a
Iranian
heartbeat.
missiles in Hebrew say on them, death to the Jews, kill Israel. No more. They write in Hebrew on their missiles. And again, like I said earlier, when Hitler said he's going to try to kill all the Jews, he almost succeeded. The world said, no, that's not going to happen. Iran says it. It's not a secret. They're not kind of quietly in a back room. They're telling the world, we're going to kill all the Jews. Well, and once again, like I started my conversation with, the end point for Iran is dead Jews. The end point for Israel is live Jews. That's the Arab-Israeli conflict. Jews want to go on and help humanity. Iran wants to go on and kill the Jews. There's no moral equivalency. When you hear these BDS people, these college students who are miseducated, say, well, Israel did this, Israel did that. Israel does not go into homes, bound, burn, and behead babies. They don't take elderly Palestinian men and women and behead them in front of a crowd. They don't kidnap them using as human shields. So don't give me this moral equivalency stuff.
I agree 100%.
No, absolutely. And there's problems with, you can't fight terrorism under the rules of the Geneva Convention. It's just impossible.
Right.
And that's what the world is trying to hold Israel to right now.
Exactly.
And there's no such... the Western world isn't even condemning Hamas for what they're doing.
Right.
And what they've been doing.
There have been celebrations celebrating parties, giving out candy all over the world, celebrating. They don't realize that the Jew is always the canary in the coal mine. Okay, kill them, and then if you get away with it, then you kill everybody else. If you experiment with the Jews.
They're the little Satan,
right.
And the U.S. is the big Satan or the giant Satan. Right,
exactly.
That's Iranians and these others refer to us as. I'm not Iranians when I say that. That's the leaders of Iran, not the people of Iran.
To get to that point, the fact that the Palestinian people in Gaza, in Judea and Samaria are living in filth and poverty and can't even have jobs. The number one jobs for the people in Gaza are the ones who come over to Israel every day. Well, that's not going to happen anymore. Now, people also forget Gaza.
And they're going to blame Israel for that.
Well, that point taken. Gaza has a border with Israel and a border with Egypt. So anything that gets into Gaza, I guarantee it's not coming from Israel. So Egypt had trucks which are going over to deliver, humanitarian aid.
Yeah.
Israel told Egypt, if that truck approaches the border, we will blow the truck up. Those trucks made U-turns and headed back in. How do you think the stuff gets into there? The initial Palestinian Liberation Organization, which gave rise to Hamas, it was originally the Muslim Brotherhood is who Hamas was. It wasn't until the 1990s that Iran started financing them. So it started out as the Muslim Brotherhood in 1987 to finance and fund these people, give them jobs, pay them. And then when Israel doesn't kill them, puts them in jail, their families get stipends from the Palestinian Authority. Now you think the PA, Palestinian Authority is different, Abbas. Abbas took money given by the United Nations Relief Fund for his people and bought a $50 million airplane. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, people say, no, that's not true. Yeah, it is true. It's a fact.
But it's been true around the world with what the UN and the corruption
right.
in some of these third world nations where it's all about enriching themselves and not helping their people.
Exactly. So how is this Israel's fault? If the Palestinian Authority and Hamas are preventing their people from getting good paying jobs in Israel.
And just 2 presidents ago, he was wining and dining members of the Muslim Brotherhood in the White House.
Right,
Obama
exactly.
was.
Exactly.
You look at where you're at right now, though, when 90% of the electricity in the Gaza area comes from Israel.
And water.
And the other 10% is from a power plant that they've got that runs on Israeli diesel.
Exactly.
So now they've got no power.
Right.
Now they've got no water.
Well,
now their people don't have jobs.
Well, we don't know how long their petroleum will last to run their generators, but right now they're using the generators for. You talk about tunnels. Their tunnels are air conditioned, they're heated. They have train systems in them. These aren't little tunnels dug out like where they found Saddam Hussein hiding in a tunnel. That's like a manhole cover. These are highly technologically advanced places that they built them by products purchased from Israel: concrete, cement, tools, right? And then the weapons. So the products to build tunnels comes from Israel, and the products themselves comes through Egypt. Egypt is saying, well, we warned Israel about this. They didn't believe us. Israel is warned every single day that someone's going to attack them. Egypt, if they really were going to warn us, they shouldn't have warned us. They should have prevented this then if they knew about it. And they're telling the world, oh, Israel didn't believe us. Yeah, we believe you, but we hear that every day. If you knew something was going to happen, don't warn us, prevent it.
You got to figure the people of the Gaza area at some point are going to say, hey, look, Hamas, we don't want you representing us anymore because we want to at least live. I think you just systematically start at one end and just go through and just wholesale slaughter the enemy.
That's unfortunately what's going to happen.
Very biblical.
Well, and a lot of the Palestinian people reminds me too much of the analogy of the good Germans who sat and watched Jews put in concentration camps. They're seeing train loads go into the concentration camps, empty trains come out, and smoke coming out of the smokestacks, and they claim they didn't know what was happening. Well, the Palestinian people, and again, I am not talking about all Palestinians, I'm not talking about all Arabs, I'm not talking about all Muslims, I'm talking about the Palestinians willing executioners, those who sit and watch and cheer and celebrate the death of Jews.
Yeah. We really appreciate your time, Doc. It's very enlightening. I know it's very raw for you, and I appreciate you coming in and sharing such an emotional story with us. And we'd love to have you back because I do think I know how the story is going to end.
Oh, so
and
do I.
I think it's going to end in triumph for Israel. And I would love to have you come back and just keep us.
And I'd like to hear some of the things that, if you're privy to share them, that you're learning from the inside from the Brigadier General as we have more time, because these things need to get out because
mainstream media is not doing it.
Won't do it.
Right. Well, I made plane reservation. I'm going to go there in about 6 weeks, and as long as the airport is open, I'm going. If things calm down, I'll vacation with family. If not, I have 40 years of experience in facial trauma, hand trauma, and I spent 2 years at the Army burn unit taking care of burned American soldiers. So I'm going to go there, and hopefully the war will have passed. If not, I'm going anyway. The only thing that will stop me is if the airports are closed.
Wow. Well, that's commitment, and that's part of the big family.
Between now and then, though, we want you to come back.
I'll be glad to, and
Awesome.
I'll text
Great.
you and message you, let you know.
Please keep us in the loop.
Okay, I shall
Great.
do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Dr.
having me.
Gary
Thank you
Branfman,
so
appreciate
much,
it. Thank
Doc.
you very much.
And hang out in the green room, have a Bloody Mary, and we'll talk to you in just a second, too. Folks, we did not have time today. There was no time for any real humor, no time to talk about boob jobs and all that, but we will, because the doc is famous as a plastic surgeon. You heard him talk about doing facial reconstruction and things like that. We will get him back in here to talk about that type of stuff at another time. But for now, pray for Israel, pray for our leadership, and
Pray for peace.
pray for peace. Have a good day, folks.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
Kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving.